My name is Hilbrand Bouwkamp. I'm going to give you an update on GWT, or GWT as they say in America, probably because if they speak it as an American GWT, that's probably a bit too long. But before I'm going to talk about the 2.0, let me first ask, who knows GWT? Maybe I should ask who doesn't know it. Everybody?
Everybody.
Ah, that's easy. Basically, then I can skip this slide where I put some keywords about GWT. GWT, I say just GWT. And I go straight to all the good stuff of the 2.0 version. Okay. GWT 2.0 basically was driven by the Google Wave release, or the Google Wave development. Because when Wave was developed, they saw this GWT technology and thought, wow, that's cool, let's use it. It's Google developed. But they also saw, okay, if we are going to use it, we want to have some other new features so that we can use it better, because they wanted better performance, better optimizations, and also they wanted to develop it faster. So most of the features that were developed in the 2.0 version of GWT were driven by the Google Wave team. Well, one of the major changes was that they moved out the hosted mode, the mode where you had, when you were in debug mode, you could test it from within a specific environment, a specific tool, and this tool or this environment depended on the operating system you were developing. For example, if you developed on Windows, you could only test your application with Internet Explorer. If you were running on Apple, you could only test it with Safari, and on Linux you only could test it with a very old version of Mozilla Firefox. If you wanted to test the other browsers, you had to compile your code, and then you can run it in the browser. But when you run it in the browser, you cannot debug it, and you cannot set breakpoints in your client code from Java. You can of course debug the Java script code, but that's probably not what you want to do. So they developed a plugin for the browsers so that you can directly run the development mode, and that's what they called the development mode. You can directly run from within your browser, and so now you can use the browser you want to test. So if you want to test a specific Chrome or a specific Firefox or a specific EA feature in your development environment, you can run it from within your browser. And it also makes the turnaround time a little bit faster, because you can simply refresh your browser and then it reloads your application, whereas in the hosted mode situation you sometimes had to restart your complete hosted mode environment, and that costs time, and we wanted to be developed faster. One other step is that they added a draft compile option. That's basically in between the development mode and the production mode. Production mode is what they now call, if you compiled your code and you run it on your own web server or the web server you're using for testing, they have now a draft compile option. And what does the draft compile option do? The draft compile option does not do all optimizations. So for example, if you compile for production mode, it will compress the JavaScript, it will detect if it can inline a lot of a code or strings, and in the draft mode it doesn't do all that optimizations. So if you want to test a production mode environment, you can use a draft compile, and then it will still be as if you are running on production mode, but you can have a faster turnaround time. Again, this is a performance or a development performance option. Okay, what did they add also? And that's the story of your compile. Because if you compile your code, and it's a lot of JavaScript is generated, then you probably want to know, okay, what JavaScript libraries do I include that add to the total amount of JavaScript that will be downloaded if the user starts up my application? What part of this JavaScript don't I use very much? And for that they added a lot of information in the form of a lot of reporting, which you can get if you use these two options. You get a lot of feedback from what is generated, how the dependencies of the libraries you are using are called, so that you can optimize it. And why is this also important? And that's basically for the other optimization that they did. That's the run ASIC, or also known as the developer guided code splitting. And what does that mean? Before 2.0, if you compiled your JavaScript, it was one big file. So if you have a relatively large project, you could see files of 2 megabytes. And that means if a user comes for the first time to your site, he will have to download this 2 megabytes. And yeah, you can imagine Wave is a big application. And they said, okay, that's not good enough for us.